David Calvert from iFormulate Limited, and it's my pleasure to be your host for today's short webinar on the Modular Masters in Formulation Science and Technology. You're all on mute at the moment. We have a large number of people joining today, which is encouraging. Wanted to start really by talking you through what you'll hear today in roughly half an hour. I'm going to kick things off by starting give you an overview of this qualification, the Modular Masters in Formulation Science and Technology, and its status. Then we'll have something where you can hear, as they say, from the horse's mouth about the first 3 modules that are being launched in Q1 2015. And those are characterization at the University of Birmingham, design principles at the Montfort University, and pre-formulation studies at the University of Manchester. Then, as everybody is interested in formulation, we will be having an update on the National Formulation Centre, which was funded in the autumn statement, and that will be coming from the KTN and Darren Rageb. And then hopefully we'll have some time for some questions. As there are a large number of people at this presentation, if you could send your questions via the chat function or via the question function, and then we'll field them all at the end. And just to let everybody know, we are actually recording this session. So if you do have colleagues who want to listen in afterwards who couldn't make it today, then we will be able to send a recording of this session afterwards to you. So the Science Industry Partnership is the organisation behind the Modular Masters. This is a programme which is funded by the government, which co-invested up to £32.6 million in the Science Industry Partnership, which is led by an employer SIP board chaired by GSK. And the objectives of the SIP are to develop the skills strategy for the science sector and to co-invest in skills and education projects with employers. Although the funding is for England only, that does not mean that this qualification is not open to anybody outside of England. In fact, that's welcomed. It's just some accounting would only be for England. The SIP was publicly launched on the 8th of July. The SIP is not just the Modular Masters in Formulation Science and Technology, but includes skills throughout the whole level of qualifications, science, technology, engineering and math careers, traineeships, smart apprenticeships, developing the workforce, and then 3 strands in higher education, one which is industrial graduates and the industrial degree scheme, the Formulation Technology Masters, which we're talking about today, and the Advanced Training Partnership Industrial Biotechnology, which there's a consultation out at present. The objective of this webinar is not to talk fully about the SIP, so if you are wanting to know more about the Science Industry Partnership, then please contact Jenny Klukas on that email. And again, all the slides you will hear today and see today will be available and sent to you after this webinar. So, the Modular Masters in Formulation Science and Technology. As with all of the SIP programs, this really came out of an industrial consultation process in 2013, and it asked industry what do they actually want in terms of the skills. And these were the findings really that you can see on this slide. They wanted a modular framework, so they didn't want a full-time qualification. They wanted something that would allow people to build their own program, that would make it suitable for industry as a whole, for the companies and for the individuals, so that they could build something that made sense for them. They also wanted to take part and have the opportunity to get education from the best of the best and multiple providers. So they asked for a qualification that could be put together that would allow a number of people to actually provide the learning material. It was also requested and driven quite hard that even if people didn't want to do the full qualification, they wanted it arranged so that individual modules could be taken as CPD. And this has been done. They also wanted it to be staged so that not only could it be a master's, but there could be intermediate qualifications, the postgraduate certificate, the postgraduate diploma. It was also requested, as always, a variety of delivery and assessment methods, so not just all in person, not just all exams, but a range of those which would be e-learning, distance learning and assessment methods that were varied and differing. It needed to focus on advanced skills, so it was very much at a master's level. And to get the full master's, they wanted it to be include a project, and that is included. And as it is industry driven, they wanted to play a part in developing the program and ensuring that the program met industry requirements. So it will have industry governance. So this led to a proposal that would say there would be in the Modular Masters a number of core modules that would be applicable across all industries, and they would be valid for 60 credits. Then there would be a wide choice of more than 20 industry modules that would be optional and that you could combine to make up for another 60 credits. And then, as we said before, a project that would be industrial relevant and practical research project that would be funded for another 60 credits. Okay, I'm going to try and speak a little bit louder. If it's not coming through clear, my apologies for that. Hopefully it will come a little bit clearer. So in terms of what are the module topics, and I've used the words topics because the titles of the actual modules may vary depending upon who is chosen to deliver it in the end. But if you look on this slide, you can see that the topics included in all of the modules, some are very specific, but most of them apply across a whole range of different industries. So colloid chemistry and rheology, which was an actual stage 1 module which took place last year, and then design principles you'll hear about today and characterization, the types of core modules that you would need in all industries, but then perhaps going on to other modules that are more specific to different industries, such as cosmetics and coatings and inks formulations. But you'll see more about these, and you'll hear about the 3 modules that are available in this webinar. So the existing status is that we received a number of bids for the full program to deliver the full Modular Masters in Formulation Science and Technology. And those have been scored last week, and there are actually interviews taking place with 2 consortia tomorrow in London. And we would hope to have a decision on the successful consortia available for everybody at the latest by the end of January. But that's not to stop the progress of the Formulation Modular Masters. So there are 3 stage 1 modules which are open for registration, and the credits that are gained by people there can be actually used for the full qualification, and that's been the stipulation of the tender. Some very good news if you are a company based in England, and it is only available for England, but there is financial assistance of up to 50% per learner per module available. So that can be a very useful financial benefit to somebody if they are based in England. If you are interested in any of the modules which you'll hear about today or further updates on the program, then please contact Helen Murray at Cogent on that email address that you'll actually see there. So I hope that came through reasonably clear to most of you. Apologies if the sound has dipped in and out. But now what we'll do, you'll see your screen go blank while I just arrange for the next presentation to come up. But the next one will be from Richard Greenwood at the University of Birmingham, who's going to talk you through the characterization module in March. So please bear with me while I just pause the screen and change things over.
In March. Hello, hope everybody can hear me now.
You can now, Richard. Sorry, I needed to unmute you, so if you could start again, please. Thank you.
Right, this is Richard Greenwood, University of Birmingham. So on the screen, you should be able to see a program for a module that I'm coordinating here in Birmingham. It's called Characterization for Formulation, also known as Measurement Techniques here within the university. It's been running for about 10 years now. So it's a 3-day module which consists of lectures from different experts who will talk for a couple of hours on their area of expertise. So that each module is each lecture is standalone. You don't need to know anything beforehand or anything from previous lectures. Okay. We start off with an invited speaker, Dr. Simon Lawson from a company called SQ, who will be starting to talk about nanoparticle characterization. We then move on to a specialist technique we have here at Birmingham called positron emission particle tracking. Then a more mundane, routine talk on particle characterization, thermogravmatic analysis, and differential scanning calorimetry. And the final day we finish off with an industrial case study. One of my NHD students from Johnson Matthey will be talking about tomography, in particular electrical resistance and electrical capacity. Next day we have optical microscopy and AFM, atomic force microscope talks, and we finish off with a talk on surface plasma resonance. I don't know anything about that one. That's a new one we've introduced this year, but as I understand it, it's for measuring the thickness of unsuffled nanofilms. Then we finish off talking about density and porosity measurements with Professor Grover, who's more of a bioceramic bone kind of background. And finally, on the last day, we have Professor Zhang talk about micromanipulation techniques, and Professor Adams talking about microindentation techniques and particle image velocimetry. We finish up at lunchtime, and if anyone's interested, we have optional tours of our Science City labs and our positron emission particle tracking labs over in physics. That's the program. It is, say, 10 credits. The assessment is by coursework. What else you need to know? By the end of the module, hopefully everyone should be able to explain theoretically how all those techniques that we talk about operate, any sample preparation, and the advantages and disadvantages of the technique. So the assessment is 100% coursework. That's an essay, probably handed in 6 weeks after the event, roughly on the lines that the students would have to write a 5,000-word essay, normally on 3 techniques on that list or any other techniques that they're interested in, and they have to write about how they would characterize the microstructure of a product of their choice. Deadline for the registration is 6th of March. I have about 40 of my students on it, so it's definitely going to go ahead, and the price will be £770 per person. I think that's all I want to say, really, so I'll hand you back to David to pass you on to the next one.
Thanks very much, Richard. That was very clear, and for everyone, there will also be flyers on each of these 3 individual modules available after this presentation. So our next speaker is going to be Dr. Valkyria Schlindwein from Montfort University. So just bear with me again, the screen will go blank just while I bring up the presentation. But Valkyria, you have been unmuted, so you can start to speak.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm the program leader of the MSc in Quality by Design, and this module, do we have the screen?
Yeah, it's coming up now, Valkyria. There we go.
Okay, the design principles for formulation and research development methodology is part of our MSc distance learning and also full-time at the Montfort University. We run this as in this format since 2011. Oops, sorry, I lost you.
It's okay, Valkyria, I'm going to change the slides for you.
Okay, if you do that, it will be better, otherwise.
There we go. Okay, can you see the general information now?
No, I lost you completely. Well, where are you? Just 1 second. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Got it? Okay.
It's my fault, sorry.
We're on slide
No.
2, Valkyria. If you want to just read through
I've
it.
lost you completely, but I can. Okay.
You
It's
talk
slide
through
2.
it, I'll put the slides on. Yeah.
Generic information, just some figures and facts there. It is a 15 credits module. The teaching mode is e-learning plus a one-day face-to-face workshop, and this unfortunately has to be subject to numbers, so minimum numbers. We hope to run, we can only run if you have minimum numbers of 10 students. But we will be able to run even without the face-to-face workshop with any number really, because it's a distance learning course. Assessment mode is coursework. There will be 2 courseworks involved, typically one at the beginning around design of experiments and one at the end around the methodology for implementing formulation principles using DOE mostly. The cost is $1,100. Registration deadline the 6th of March as the previous module, and we will aiming to start on the 23rd of March. That's the date that we normally start our course anyway, our module for the other students. Because it's a distance learning, and it is expected that the students will complete within 6 to 8 weeks, and this program, the level of information and the number of lectures for the students to watch and the exercise that they have to do, so it's expected that they do around 10 hours a week within 6 and 8 weeks. If we move on to the next
Yep, we're on general
slide.
information. We're on general information, Valkyria.
Yes, but you, okay, so it's flexible. One of the advantages, just to summarize one of the features of how we deliver, free access. One advantage that we see anyway as an advantage, all the students will have free access to GNP and Numerics DOE software during their studies. So as long as they are registered with us, they have free access to those software. The content, this is a generic content. It's not only DOE, but also is the whole process of research methods, risk management, risk analysis, data collection, processing and analysis, communication, writing up research. So the content obviously will be, the learning outcomes will be reflected on the content. More specifically with the DOE, on the next slide, number 5, we will teach methodologies based on the quality by design new approach to product development and manufacture, starting with defining goals, identifying critical factors and parameters, critical attributes and critical process parameters, selecting factors range, choose responses, most appropriate design models or experimental design models based on the risk analysis, implementation of the design, analysis of the results, and verification of the models. So around the content of the DOE, we'll have quite a number of exercises for the students to do. It's quite interactive, and hopefully for people, mostly for people that don't have much experience with DOE, that will be a good kickstart for the students. For the students that, before we go to learning outcomes, that have already experience with the DOE, we also have bespoke exercise where they can be stretched to different kind of challenges, and it doesn't have to restrict with only the basic stuff. So we can equally, if you have experience, prior experience, you can further enhance your knowledge. The learning outcomes are based on what we're going to be assess you. So you should be able, after completing the module, describe rationally the steps in the research process and research methodology. You should be able to design appropriate experiments and with a purpose, design a research proposal with appropriate data collection and analysis tools, and provide a reflective discussion of the methodology basis on the research, demonstrate accurate and consistent use of references, and produce a clear and concise written style and good presentation. So the presentation aspects, we can devise that via the internet if that's the case. It obviously depends on the number of students. If we do have a one-to-one workshop, we can embed that in this exercise here at the Montfort University. We've been running this workshop for our home students, the full-time students here, for a number of years, and is very effective and very enjoyable as well. So we have people from GSK, obviously JUMP and U-Metrics helping us to deliver some aspects of the DOE tools that are available for the students. I hope that was clear, and I'm happy to answer any questions that people would have.
Thank you, Valkyria. We'll hold questions until the end. There are a number of questions coming through, but we'll move on now quickly through to Matthew Shaw. So again, the screen will just go blank while I change the presentation. Matthew, you are unmuted at the moment, so you can start to speak, hopefully, and I'll get your slides up very quickly.
Okay, thank you very much, David. And thank you also to Richard and Valkyrie for ironing out some of the challenges with the webinar format. I do appreciate that. I'm the Director of the Pharmaceutical Industry Advanced Training Programmes at Manchester Pharmacy School, and the module that we're including here is our Pre-Formulation Studies Biopharmaceutical Aspects of Dosage Form Design. If you want to pop onto the next slide there, David, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do. There we go.
So the unit itself is a 15-credit unit, so that's roughly equivalent to 150 hours of learning. It's delivered through open learning, and we send it out as a printed manual divided into separate study units. Our tutor support comes through Professor Tony DeManuel, and our assessment on this one is through examination at 70% of the total score, and then a written assignment at 30%. With the written assignment being used to show application of the learning that students gain as they go through the module. Next slide, please. The cost of the module is £1,700, which includes the fee that's paid to Cogent, and as with the other modules, our registration deadline is the 6th of March 2015. I put the comment on here as well that we invite students to attend our summer school. It's a 3-day school that we hold in Manchester, and that will include a face-to-face workshop on this particular unit, but also on the other 31 units that we have across the programme, and students can attend any of those sessions for their own personal development as well as the module here itself. There's no extra charge for the summer school, but if students do come, then they do need to arrange their own travel, accommodation and evening meals, so daytime meals included. What happens after registration? Well, once students have registered for the module and the university's had the money, we'll send out the printed resources. Our tutor will contact the students to welcome them, explain the process and invite them to share information about what they want to get from the programme and what their learning needs are. They then work through the resources at their own speed. And we give students up to 9 months to complete the unit, and that's based on our experience over the last 20 years that those working in the pharmaceutical industry often are given other jobs to do that have a very, very tight deadline, and it makes it very difficult for them then to engage in the learning. We hold exams in September and again in February, and the deadline for the assignment is 12 noon GMT, a lot of international students, on the 31st of January 2016. And I have an admin team who support, that's Nicola, Andrew, Izzy and Luke. The content itself, you will get the Cogent flyer, which gives you the greater amount of detail, but effectively it covers the study of the physical and chemical properties of drugs and their proper dosage as related to the onset, duration and intensity of drug action. And the different units within it cover an overview of biopharmaceutics, different routes of administration, how absorption works and the different factors that affect GI absorption. We look at different dosage forms and the impact that has on bioavailability and on bioequivalence. We cover dissolution testing, and then we round up with a bit of fun on pharmacokinetics. And the overall outcome for this module is that at the end of the module, students will have demonstrated an in-depth understanding of the impact of the body on the absorption of drugs. They will have applied that to the design of dosage forms and to factors relating to their production and testing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthew. That was very good. I hope everyone can see from the 3 modules presented some high quality learning material there. The first 2 you could regard as, I guess, core modules applicable across all industries, and then Matthew's is very much one specific to the pharmaceutical industry. So thanks to the 3 people for presenting there. We will be taking some questions at the end. But now we're going to invite Darren Rageb to actually talk about the National Formulation Centre. So Darren, I'm just going to find your name and unmute you. So again, Darren, I'll just take my screen off and you can talk while I just get your slides up.
Okay, thank you, David. Am I coming through clearly?
You're clear to me, Darren, so that should hopefully be clear enough for everybody else. Just about there with your slides.
Okay, I'll just pause.
There we go. You see that?
Okay.
And I'll take you through.
Next slide, please. Yeah.
I'm just going to come. Bear with us. There we go.
I'm just going to start. I'm going to give a very quick, opportunistic update on the National Formulation Centre because I'm sure it's of interest to most of the people on the line. Just a quick update on who I am. I work for the Knowledge Transfer Network, which is the UK's innovation network. We are funded through Innovate UK, which was formerly the Technology Strategy Board, and we're all about putting people in connection with other people and with funding to make R&D happen and to make innovation happen, and everything we do is geared towards economic growth and wealth creation within the UK. We recently merged, there were previously 15, 16 separate knowledge transfer networks, and we merged earlier this year, early last year, April 2014, and we pretty much cover every sector you could imagine. I'm part of the chemicals and chemistry team, but we cover areas as broad as the creative industries, photonics, materials, a wide spectrum. So that's all I wanted to say about who I am. More specifically, and of probably more interest, next slide please, David, thank you. Yeah, formulation. So a couple of years ago we worked closely with Innovate UK to raise the profile of formulation as a key area of opportunity. We know we've got lots of big companies, we know we've got a good research base in the area, we know there's export potential and wealth creation potential, and we know there's perhaps a need to innovate a bit more in the area. So this is an overview of the Technology Strategy Board, or Innovate's priority areas, how they invest, and within that grey box in the middle, sorry I can't annotate it, but there's a high value manufacturing box, and that's where formulation sits, and we work closely with Innovate, thanks David, a couple of years ago to make sure formulation was raised, the profile was raised and added to that box. Next slide. So one question there that needed to then be answered was, well, what would Innovate and what would the UK government actually spend some money on if they were to invest and help grow UK formulation capability and help the UK to be world leading in this area? And the first output was came out a year or two ago, and that was a competition for collaborative R&D projects in the area of formulation. Next slide, please, David. And in the end, around 9.2 million of public money was invested in a wide range of collaborative R&D projects. You can see on the slide the different sectors that were touched on in the projects, a lot of them overlapping. So this was a good mechanism to get companies working together or with the academic base to actually do some innovation in the area of formulation. And it also helped us to build the case for a national formulation centre. So if we just take a step back, this is our kind of view of the world, and this will be slightly different by sector and by individual, but we recognise that there was a need to actually move from what was in the past, and perhaps still is a bit in the present, of approaches to formulation where we have a lot of empiricism. A lot of our knowledge is locked within the brains of experts. We don't use data as much as we should. Obviously we are making progress, but the vision is, can the UK lead the race to further to the right hand side of this table, where we can be a bit more predictive. Maybe we'll never be 100% predictive, but we can have a more knowledge based and closed loop approach to the way we design formulations and solve formulation problems. So what we came up with, we did a large consultation with industry, and we came up with the National Formulation Centre. And I'm never going to do this justice in a minute, and I'm probably overrunning already, but the idea is to link existing UK capability and experts across companies, across universities, across SMEs, to grow and build the next generation capability in formulation, and then to actually get it out to people. So we've got 4 themes around building capability in predictive design, big data, manufacturability, and radical effect delivery. The model is hub and spoke model. It will be delivered by the Centre for Process Innovation based in the Northeast, and it's part of the High Value Manufacturing Catapult. So this is the flagship innovation centre network that has already been in existence for a couple of years. And the centre is about driving cross-sector and supply chain collaborations and synergies. Not always, but we see that that's the areas, and there's the opportunity to actually get a coatings company working with a pharmaceutical company, or get a food technology moved into a different sector. The vision is, and the kind of dimensions we're looking at, is that this will be a centre that will employ around 60 FTEs. That's probably by about year 3 or 4. And those employees will be direct employees, but they'll also be secondees from industry and academia. And we would hope to see people working not just within the hub, within Sedgefield in the northeast, but also across academic partner bases. The budget is, the target is to get an overall investment, so not just the public money, but the private money as well, of around 60 million over that period. The initial target public contribution was around 25 million. And the expectation is that this isn't a capital intensive investment. There does need to be some capital spend, but actually the key is about getting some bright brains and some clever people linking together and actually doing projects. We know a lot of the capability capital-wise is already there. A lot of the buildings are already there. This is about getting stuff done. Next slide, last slide please, David. So we have secured the funding finally, 3rd of December, in the Chancellor's Treasury, in the Chancellor's Autumn Statement, pardon. This was a bid that was led by Innovate UK and BIS, the Department for Business, Innovation and Skills. We had some strong support throughout the process over the last couple of years from various companies listed there, and there have been others. We had high level kind of lobbying type support from 2 bodies that you may know of, called the Chemistry Growth Partnership and the Medicines Manufacturing Industry Partnership, and these were key to show that this centre was central to the plans for those sectors. And as I've said, the location has been confirmed as the Net Park site in Sedgefield. So it's only actually been a couple of weeks since the centre was announced, and we've had Christmas and New Year in between, so we're currently getting our plans together as to the delivery of the centre. Obviously the current priorities are working with BIS and Innovate to actually confirm how and when we secure the funding. This funding has been secured, but how and when we get our hands on it. The recruitment of the centre director and other senior roles is a priority. This is a project that I've been leading within the KTN over the last couple of months, and we're now kind of transitioning that to CPI. And finally, the other key action really, and the most important one, is we're just working behind the scenes at the moment to come up with some plans as to how we engage companies and the wider community to support the development of the centre over the coming months, and there will certainly be opportunities for all relevant stakeholders to engage. Sorry, I haven't got much more detail on that at the moment, but that will follow in a couple of weeks. The launch date is to be confirmed, but we're wary this is a virtual centre. We know we've done a lot of pre-work, so we would hope that it would be certainly within the year. There's my contact details. If you want to, please do get in touch. If you want to find out more, have any questions. Otherwise, I'll hand back to David now. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren, and it's a very exciting development, and we'll be keen to see the progress over the next year. So everyone, we've slightly overrun. I do have a question about the Modular Masters and whether you can do it by distance learning or whether it needs to be in person. The idea at present is that it can be a mix, so whether you can do it all by distance learning, we will see from the final proposal that's accepted, but the idea is that certainly a large proportion can be done via distance and via e-learning with some in-person contact. So that should answer that. If you have any questions, if you can post them now. If I don't see any more coming up, then I will finish today. You will get copies of all of the slides, those of you who have attended, and as I said, there is a recording being made of this webinar, so if you know of any of your colleagues who would like to listen to it, then let us know and we'll send you a link to that. I don't see any more questions. We have overrun slightly. Apologies for that, but we were ambitious in what we've tried to achieve today. I'd just like to finish off really by thanking the other speakers for their contributions today, and I wish you all a pleasant evening, and thanks very much for your time and attention, and hope you found it informative. Thanks.